Hello, this is day 52 of reading one canto of the Divine Comedy every day. We are on Purgatorio, Canto 18, which I will read from the Longfellow translation before giving some quick comments. An end had put unto his reasoning the lofty teacher, and a tent was looking into my face, if I appeared content. And I, whom a new thirst still goaded on, without was mute, and said within, perchance the too much questioning I make annoys him. But that true father, who had comprehended the timid wish that opened not itself, by speaking gave me hardihood to speak. Whence I, my sight is, master, vivified so in thy light, that clearly I discern whatever thy speech importeth or describes. Therefore I thee entreat, sweet father dear, to teach me love, to which thou dost refer every good action and its contrary. Direct, he said, towards me the keen eyes of intellect, and clear will be to thee the error of the blind who would be leaders. The soul, which is created apt to love, is mobile unto everything that pleases, soon as by pleasure she is waked to action. Your apprehension from some real thing an image draws, and in yourselves displays it, so that it makes the soul turn unto it. And if, when turned, towards it she incline, love is that inclination. It is nature, which is by pleasure bound in you anew, then even as the fire doth upward move by its own form, which to ascend is born, where longest in its matter it endures. So comes the captive soul into desire, which is a motion spiritual, and never rests until she doth enjoy the thing beloved. Now may apparent be to thee how hidden the truth is from those people who aver all love is in itself a laudable thing. Because its matter may perchance appear I to be good, but yet not each impression is good, albeit good may be the wax. Thy words and my sequacious intellect, I answered him, have love revealed to me, but that has made me more impregnated with doubt. For if love from without be offered us, and with another foot the soul go not, if right or wrong she go, 'tis not her merit. And he to me, what reason seeth here myself can tell thee. Beyond that, await for Beatrice, since 'tis a work of faith. Every substantial form that segregate from matter is, and with it is united, specific power has in itself collected, which without act is not perceptible, nor shows itself except by its effect, as life does in a plant by the green leaves. But still, whence cometh the intelligence of the first notions, man is ignorant, and the affection for the first allurements, which are in you as instinct in the bee to make its honey, and this first desire merit of praise or blame containeth not. Now, that to this all others may be gathered, innate within you is the power that counsels, and it should keep the threshold of assent. This is the principle from which is taken occasion of desert in you, according as good and guilty loves it takes and winnows. Those who, in reasoning, to the bottom went, were of this innate liberty aware, therefore bequeathed they ethics to the world. Supposing, then, that from necessity springs every love that is within you kindled, within yourselves the power is to restrain it. The noble virtue Beatrice understands by the free will, and therefore see that thou bear it in mind if she should speak of it. The moon, belated almost unto midnight, now made the stars appear to us more rare, formed like a bucket that is all ablaze, and, counter to the heavens, ran through those paths which the sun sets aflame, when he of Rome sees it twixt Sardes and Corsicans go down. And that patrician shade, for whom is named Pietola more than any Mantuan town, had laid aside the burden of my lading, whence I, who reason manifest and plain in answer to my questions had received, stood like a man in drowsy reverie. But taken from me was this drowsiness suddenly by a people that behind our backs already had come round to us. And, as of old, Ismenus and Aesopus beside them saw at night the rush and throng, if but the Thebans were in need of Bacchus, so they along that circle curved their step, from what I saw of those approaching us, who by good will and righteous love are ridden. Full soon they were upon us, because running moved onward all that mighty multitude, and two in the advance cried out, lamenting, Mary in haste unto the mountain ran, and Caesar, that he might subdue Ilerda, thrust at Marseilles, and then ran into Spain. Quick, quick, so that the time may not be lost by little love. Forthwith the others cried, for ardor in well-doing freshens grace. O folk, in whom an eager fervor now supplies perhaps delay and negligence, put by you in well-doing through lukewarmness, this one who lives, and truly I lie not, would fain go up, if but the sun relight us. So tell us where the passage nearest is. These were the words of him who was my guide, and some one of those spirits said, Come on behind us, and the opening shalt thou find. So full of longing are we to move onward, that stay we cannot, therefore pardon us, if thou for churlishness our justice take. I was San Zeno's abbot at Verona, under the empire of good Barbarossa, of whom still sorrowing Milan holds discourse. And he has one foot in the grave already, who shall ere long lament that monastery, and sorry be of having there had power, because his son, in his whole body sick, and worse in mind, and who was evil born, he put into the place of its true pastor. If more he said, or silent was, I know not. He had already passed so far beyond us, but this I heard, and to retain it pleased me. And he who was in every need my succor said, Turn thee hitherward, see two of them come fastening upon slothfulness their teeth. In rear of all they shouted, Sooner were the people dead to whom the sea was opened, than their inheritors the Jordan saw, and those who the fatigue did not endure unto the issue with Anchises' son, themselves to life without in glory offered. Then, when from us so separated were those shades, that they no longer could be seen, within me a new thought did entrance find, whence others many and diverse were born, and so I lapsed from one into another, that in a reverie mine eyes I closed, and meditation into dream transmuted. In the last canto, what Virgil said about love is not to be taken to mean that any love is good, or rather, the thing loved is always a good thing to love. Mark Musa points out that Virgil is actually referring to the Epicureans who did actually believe this, and he definitely points out that is a fallacy and a heresy. But it still raises a good question in Dante's mind, for Virgil believes that love is simply an inclination towards that which is perceived, that which is apprehended. And so Dante asks if it comes from without the person, from outside, and simply moves the soul of its own accord, then how could anybody be blamed for what they love or praised for it? Virgil explains that there's two different kinds of will as well. There's a natural will. We just are born with certain inclinations. He makes an allusion to the way that bees make honey. That they just do that. That's what they're born with. That's a primal, instinctive will. And then there's also that which is freely chosen. That's a totally separate will. And if we so choose, this more conscious, deliberate will can override the instinctive will. You can choose not to eat for any amount of time, within reason. You can choose not to sleep, even though your instinct, your primal will, would say that you must after a certain number of hours, and so on and so forth. Because this deliberate will can override the instinctive will, ethics is born, which is something that Plato and Aristotle figured out. Thus, ethics are possible by reason alone. And Virgil is actually referring to them and is giving them credit for discovering that. And thus, what Virgil's kind of doing is reiterating the same message that Marco the Lombard had for Dante, which is free will is the reason for all of this, for some loves to be good and some to be bad, because even in regards to your primal instinctive wills and loves, you can choose whether to indulge them or not. You have freedom in that. Although he confesses that he doesn't have a full understanding of free will, as that's something that has to be explained by Beatrice, as it requires grace. Lastly, we finally run into the souls of the slothful, or those who are trying to put aside sloth, and they are running as fast as they can around the terrace. And we're given as a counterexample of the sin of sloth, zeal. We're given as the classical example of zeal, an episode from the life of Julius Caesar, and from the Bible, Mary zealously declaring that she accepts whatever God desires for her life. There are also two examples of sloth given. Number one are the companions of Aeneas that were unwilling to go with him the entire journey, and thus are not really remembered in any particular glory. And then Biblically, it was the Israelites in the desert after leaving Egypt who, despite having seen the signs and wonders of God, were slow to keep faith with him. They did not pursue him as zealously as they could have. The contrapasso is pretty obvious here. The souls are running as fast as they can instead of being slow. And it's more than that. It's their attitude towards it. It's their spirit, too. They say, in the Mark Musa translation, "Faster, faster! We have no time to waste, for time is love. Strive to do good, that grace may bloom again." It would be no benefit, I suspect, if they were running just because, okay, gotta run. It's almost entirely, the attitude with which they are running. They have to recognize that running after the good, just striving to do it as fast and as much as possible, that is the appropriate response. It is the movement of the soul towards that with zeal. That is what's trying to be instilled into them. That's all for today, though. I'll see you tomorrow.